I never thought the sound of a phone vibrating could break a person. But when I saw that name flash across the screen at 2 a.m., the same name from 3 years ago, I felt something inside me crack so completely that I knew I'd never be whole again. But I'm getting ahead of myself. To understand how I ended up standing in my bathroom at 2 in the morning, staring at my husband's phone with hands that wouldn't stop shaking, you need to know the whole story. You need to know about the first time, the forgiveness, the promises, the second chance I gave him. The fool I was to believe that people actually change. Let me take you back to 6 years ago when I thought I knew what love was. My name is Sarah, and I met David when I was 26. I know everyone says this, but he really was different. Not in the obvious ways. He wasn't the most handsome guy, or the richest, or the most charming. But he had this way of looking at me, really seeing me, that made me feel like I was the only person in the world who mattered. We met at a coffee shop. I know, how cliché, right? I was there working on a presentation for the marketing firm where I'd just gotten promoted to senior account manager. He came in, ordered something complicated that made the barista roll her eyes, and then his laptop bag knocked over my entire iced latte directly onto my keyboard. "Oh my God, I'm so sorry," he'd said, grabbing napkins, looking genuinely mortified. "I'm such a disaster. Please let me buy you another coffee. And a new laptop if we need to." I'd laughed despite being covered in coffee. The laptop survived. My dignity, not so much. "Your dignity is completely intact," he'd said, and then he'd smiled. This crooked, genuine smile that made the corners of his eyes crinkle. "But I'd still like to buy you that coffee. And maybe dinner. As an apology for the assault with a beverage." 6 months later we were living together. A year after that, he proposed on the beach where we'd had our first weekend away. Monterey, California, watching the sea otters and holding hands like teenagers. He'd gotten down on one knee right there on the sand, tears in his eyes, and said, "You're my home, Sarah. You're my safe place. I want to spend every day for the rest of my life making you happy." I'd said yes before he even finished the question. We got married 2 years after we met. Small wedding, just family and close friends, in a garden venue that cost way too much but felt like a fairy tale. My mom cried through the whole ceremony. His parents beamed with pride. Our first dance was to "The Way You Look Tonight," and I remember thinking as he held me and whispered, "I love you, Mrs. Morrison," that this was it. This was the happiness people wrote songs about. We bought a house a year after the wedding. Nothing fancy, just a 3-bedroom ranch in the suburbs with a yard that needed work and wallpaper from the 80s. But it was ours. We spent weekends at Home Depot, arguing good-naturedly about paint colors and whether we really needed a shed. David would make me breakfast on Sunday mornings. Terrible burnt pancakes that I ate anyway because he tried so hard. We'd curl up on the couch and watch stupid movies. His hand always finding mine, fingers interlaced. I worked as a marketing director by then, at a firm downtown. Long hours, stressful clients, the kind of job that sounds glamorous but mostly involves putting out fires and surviving on coffee. David was in sales for a tech company, software solutions for businesses, the kind of thing I never fully understood but that he was really good at. He traveled sometimes, regional conferences and client meetings, but never for more than a few days. We talked about kids. Not yet, we'd agreed. Maybe in a couple years, once we were more settled. Once we'd traveled more, saved more, lived more. We had time, we thought. All the time in the world. I should have known it was too good to be true. Started small. So small that I didn't even notice at first. David started coming home later from work. Just 30 minutes here, an hour there. "Traffic was brutal," he'd say, kissing my forehead as he dropped his briefcase by the door. "New client needs hand-holding. You know how it is." And I did know. My job was demanding too. I understood late nights and difficult clients. I didn't question it. Then his phone habits changed. He'd always been casual about his phone, left it lying around, never cared if I picked it up to check the time or change the music. But suddenly it was always face down. Always in his pocket. Always on silent. "You're glued to that thing," I joked one night as we watched a movie and his fingers flew over the screen. "Work stuff," he'd said, not even looking up. "Client in crisis." "Sorry, babe." He started showering as soon as he got home. Every single night. "I'm gross from the gym," he'd say, even though his gym bag stayed in the car untouched. He bought new cologne. Expensive stuff, in a bottle I'd never seen before. When I asked about it, he shrugged. "Got it on sale." "You like it." I did like it. That was the problem. Smelled good on him. Made me lean closer when he hugged me. I didn't think about why he suddenly cared about smelling good. He started working out more. Going to the gym at weird hours. 6 a.m. before work or late at night after dinner. His body changed. He lost weight, gained muscle. "Just trying to stay healthy," he'd say when I complimented him. "Getting older, you know. Gotta take care of myself." I thought it was great. My husband was taking care of himself. What was wrong with that? The sex changed too, but I didn't want to see it. He was more distant. Like his body was there, but his mind was somewhere else. Sometimes he'd close his eyes the whole time, and I wondered what he was thinking about. Or who. But I pushed that thought away. We'd been married for 3 years by then. This was normal, right? The passion fading a little, life getting routine. That's what happened in long-term relationships. That's what everyone said. He forgot things. Little things. Like our Friday night tradition of ordering Thai food and watching cooking shows. Or that I didn't like mushrooms on my pizza. Or that my company Christmas party was on the 15th, not the 16th. So he showed up a day late with a sheepish grin and a story about mixed-up calendar notifications. "You're so distracted lately," I'd said, trying not to sound like I was nagging. "I know, I'm sorry," he'd replied, pulling me into a hug. "Big project at work. It'll calm down soon, I promise." Looking back, every single one of these was a red flag the size of Texas. But I didn't want to see them. I was happy. We were happy. I trusted him completely. That was my first mistake. The first real crack in my denial came on a Tuesday night in March. I'd come home early from work. Rare, but my client meeting had been cancelled, and David's car was in the driveway. That was weird. He was supposed to be at a dinner meeting with a potential client. I remembered because he'd told me that morning. Complained about how these schmooze-fest dinners were the worst part of sales. I walked into the house and called out, "David!" Nothing. His briefcase was by the door. His keys on the hall table. But no David. Then I heard it. His voice coming from upstairs. From our bedroom. Talking low and urgent. My stomach did a weird flip. I walked up the stairs slowly, each step creaking under my feet. The bedroom door was half open. "Can't tonight," David was saying. "She came home early." I know. Sorry. Tomorrow, I promise." "Yes, I miss you too." I pushed the door open. David spun around, phone pressed to his ear, eyes wide. "I have to go," he said into the phone and hung up immediately. "Who was that?" My voice sounded strange. High and tight. "Client," he said quickly. Too quickly. The dinner meeting got moved. They called to reschedule. "Why would a client say they miss you?" His face went blank for just a second. Then he laughed. "What? I didn't. You misheard, babe. They said they missed the meeting. As in, they can't make it." I wanted to believe him. God, I wanted to believe him so badly. Okay, I said. But it wasn't okay. Something had shifted. The doubt that I'd been pushing down, ignoring, rationalizing. It was there now, a living thing with teeth. A week later I was doing laundry. His job usually, but he'd been so busy that the basket was overflowing. I pulled a shirt from the hamper and something fell out of the pocket. Receipt. From a restaurant. Nice one downtown. The date was from the previous Thursday, the night he'd said he was working late on a proposal. 2 entrees, 2 cocktails, a bottle of wine, a dessert to share. The total was $186. We hadn't been to a restaurant that nice in months. Money was tight with the new mortgage. I stood there in the laundry room, holding that receipt, feeling my hands start to shake. There could be an explanation. Client dinner. He'd forgotten to mention it. He'd used his personal card because the company card was maxed out or something. There could be a million reasons. But I knew. Somewhere deep in my gut I knew. I didn't confront him. Not yet. Instead I started watching. Paying attention in a way I hadn't before. The next warning came 2 weeks later. I'd borrowed his laptop because mine was updating. We shared passwords, shared devices. We'd always been open like that. No secrets between us. That's what we'd promised. His email was open. I wasn't snooping, I was just looking for the tab with my work login. But then I saw the email folders on the left side of the screen. Most of them were normal. Work stuff. Online orders. But there was one labeled M. Just M. My finger hovered over the trackpad. I shouldn't click it. It was probably nothing. Maybe a work project. Maybe. Clicked it. The folder was empty. Completely empty. But folders don't create themselves. Someone made that folder. Someone put something in it. And then someone deleted everything and kept the folder. Why keep an empty folder? Unless you needed it again. My heart was pounding so hard I could hear it in my ears. Closed the laptop. Walked away. Told myself I was being paranoid. Crazy. The kind of wife who doesn't trust her husband. But that night when David came home and kissed me hello, I felt like I was kissing a stranger. The breaking point came in April. I was supposed to have a girls' night. Dinner and drinks with my best friend Rachel and 2 other friends from college. We'd planned it for weeks. But at the last minute, Rachel got the flu and cancelled. The others had conflicts they couldn't rearrange. So I stayed home instead. I didn't tell David. He was out at yet another client dinner and I just didn't feel like texting him. Didn't feel like explaining. I'd tell him when he got home. I ordered Chinese food, poured a large glass of wine, and settled in to binge-watch some trashy reality TV. Around 9 p.m. I got bored. Decided to do something productive. I'd been meaning to organize our photo albums. We had hundreds of pictures just sitting in folders on our shared cloud storage, unsorted. I logged into our account and started clicking through folders. That's when I saw it. A folder I'd never noticed before. It was labeled, DM _ personal. David Morrison. His initials. Why would he need a personal folder in our shared account? Clicked it. At first, I didn't understand what I was seeing. There were only 3 photos. They were dark, taken at night. It took me a moment to realize they were screenshots from a phone. Text messages. Between David and someone saved in his phone as work. The messages were explicit, graphic, things that made my stomach turn. Things about what they'd done, what they wanted to do, how they couldn't wait to see each other again. The dates ranged from January to March. 3 months of messages. 3 months of my husband texting another woman things he should only say to me. The last message was from March 28th. Just 2 weeks ago. From David. Can't stop thinking about you. Tonight was incredible. You're incredible. From M. I love you. When are you going to tell her? From David. Soon. Promise. I just need to find the right time. I stared at those words until they blurred. Love you. When are you going to tell her? The Chinese food sat congealing on the coffee table. TV chattered away. And I sat there, phone in hand, entire world crumbling around me like wet sand. I don't know how long I sat there. Could have been minutes. Could have been hours. Time had stopped meaning anything. Finally, I heard his car in the driveway. The garage door opening. His footsteps in the kitchen. Sarah, he called out. You home? Thought you had girls' night. I didn't answer. I just sat there, laptop open, those 3 screenshots staring back at me. He walked into the living room, saw me on the couch and smiled. That crooked smile I'd fallen in love with. Hey babe. How was? He saw the laptop. Saw my face. His smile died. Sarah. Who is M? My voice was flat. Eerily calm. Like it was coming from someone else. What are you talking about? The folder. DM_personal. The screenshots. Who the fuck is M? I'd never cursed at him before. Not once in our entire relationship. His face went white. Then red. Then some color I didn't have a name for. You went through my private files. That's what he led with. Not denial. Not an explanation. But anger that I'd invaded his privacy. Our shared account, I said. Shared. We don't have private files. We promised. You had no right. Who is she? I was yelling now. Screaming. The calm had shattered and underneath was something volcanic. He stood there, mouth opening and closing like a fish. Finally. It's not what you think. Oh my God. I laughed. Actually laughed. It sounded hysterical even to my own ears. You did not just say that. Please tell me you did not just fucking say. It's not what you think. Sarah, please let me explain. Explain what? Explain the messages where you tell her you love her. Explain where she asks when you're going to tell your wife about her. Explain how you've been lying to me for months. It wasn't months. Months, David. The messages start in January. It's April. That's months. He sank onto the armchair across from me, head in his hands. I'm so sorry. Who is she? Sarah. Who is she? Her name is Madison. She works in marketing at one of my client companies. We started talking at a conference in December and things just happened. Things just happened. Like he'd tripped and fallen into an affair. Like it was an accident. How far did it go? I needed to know. Needed to understand the full scope of what had been done to me. He was silent. Did you sleep with her? Silence. Answer me. Yes. Barely a whisper. Yes. I'm so sorry, Sarah. It was a mistake. A huge mistake. How many times? Does it matter? How many times did you fuck her? He flinched at the word. I don't. Maybe 5 or 6 times. I don't know exactly. 5 or 6 times. 5 or 6 times he'd touched another woman. Kissed her. Been inside her. Come home and kissed me hello like nothing had happened. Where? What? Where did you do it? Hotels. Her place. Our fucking house. Never our house, he said quickly, like that made it better. Hotels mostly. Once in my car. I felt bile rise in my throat. The car we'd driven to my parents' house last month. The car I'd sat in, touching surfaces he'd touched after touching her. Do you love her? The question came out broken. He looked up at me, eyes red. No. No, Sarah. Love you. I've always loved you. This thing with Madison, I don't know what it was. A mistake. Temporary insanity. A midlife crisis at 33. She said she loves you. You said you'd tell me about her soon. I was going to end it. I swear to God I was going to end it. When? I don't know. I got caught up in something and I didn't know how to get out and... Shut up. I stood up. My legs were shaking but I managed to stay upright. I can't listen to this anymore. I can't look at you anymore. Sarah, please. Get out. What? Get out of this house. Right now. Get out or I'm calling the police. This is my house too. Get out. He left. Grabbed his keys, his wallet, and left. The door closing behind him sounded like the end of the world. I made it to the bathroom before I threw up. I didn't sleep that night. Couldn't. Every time I closed my eyes I saw those messages. Heard his voice saying 5 or 6 times. Imagined him with her. This woman I'd never met, this Madison, who'd stolen my husband while I'd been working late and making dinner and doing his goddamn laundry. Around 3 a.m. I called Rachel. She answered on the 3rd ring, voice groggy. Sarah. What's wrong? He cheated on me. The words felt like glass coming up my throat. She was at my house within 20 minutes. I told her everything. Every detail. Every message. Every lie. She held me while I cried, made me tea I couldn't drink, and when I finally stopped talking, she said the thing I needed to hear. It's not your fault. None of this is your fault. But it felt like my fault. What had I done wrong? What had I failed to give him? Why wasn't I enough? David called 17 times the next day. I didn't answer. He texted 32 times. I read every single one, torturing myself. Please talk to me. I'm so sorry. I love you. It meant nothing. I ended it. I blocked her number. Please, Sarah. You're my wife. You're my everything. I can't lose you. I'll do anything. Anything. I didn't respond. Rachel said I should talk to a lawyer. My mom said I should come stay with her. My dad, when I finally told him, said he'd kill David if I wanted him to. He was joking. Mostly. But I couldn't think about lawyers or moving out or killing anyone. I could barely think at all. I went to work and sat in meetings like a zombie. People asked if I was okay. Flu, I lied. Just getting over it. At home I walked through the house seeing everything differently. The couch where we'd watched movies. Had he been texting her while sitting next to me? The kitchen where he'd made those terrible pancakes. Had he been thinking about her? Our bed. Thank God he'd said he never brought her here, but did that even matter? The whole house was contaminated now. On the 3rd day, David showed up at my office. He looked terrible. Unshaven, dark circles under his eyes. Wearing the same clothes from that night. Please, he said when I tried to walk past him. Just give me 5 minutes. That's all I'm asking. Security was watching. People were staring. I didn't want a scene. 5 minutes, I said. We went to the coffee shop across the street. The same one where we'd met. The irony wasn't lost on me. He ordered us both coffee. I didn't touch mine. I know you don't want to hear this, he started. But I need to say it anyway. Fucked up, Sarah. I fucked up so badly I don't even have words for it. I betrayed you in the worst possible way. I broke every promise I made to you. I destroyed your trust and I've been hating myself for it for months. Not enough to stop, I said. No, you're right. Not enough to stop. And that makes me a coward and a piece of shit and... His voice broke. I don't have an excuse. There is no excuse. But I need you to know that it's over. Completely over. Blocked her. I told her never to contact me again. I left my job. That got my attention. What? I quit. This morning. Sent my resignation email. I can't work there knowing she's at that client company. I can't have any reason to ever see her again. You quit your job? Yes. David, we have a mortgage. We have bills. I don't care. I'll find something else. I'll drive Uber if I have to. All that matters is you. Saving us. Proving to you that you're the only one that matters. I stared at him. He looked sincere. He looked devastated. He looked like a man who'd lost everything that mattered. And God help me, I wanted to believe him. I need time, I said finally. I need space to think. Process. To figure out if there's anything left worth saving. Take all the time you need, he said. I'll wait. I'll wait forever if that's what it takes. I want you to stay somewhere else. Not the house. I can't be around you right now. Okay. I'll stay with my brother. And I want couples therapy. And this is a giant if I decide to try to work through this, we're going to therapy. Non-negotiable. Absolutely. Whatever you need. Whatever it takes. The next few weeks were the hardest of my life. I went to therapy alone first. Dr. Chen was patient, kind. Didn't push me toward any decision. She let me cry and rage and ask the same questions over and over. Why wasn't I enough? What did I do wrong? How did I not see this coming? Infidelity isn't about you, she said gently. It's about him. His choices. His actions. His failures. But it was hard to believe that when I looked in the mirror and saw all my flaws magnified. Was I too focused on work? Too boring? Not pretty enough? Not sexy enough? Rachel wanted me to leave him. Once a cheater, always a cheater, she said. He'll do it again. My mom was more measured. Only you can make this decision, honey. But remember, forgiveness and trust are two different things. You might be able to forgive him someday. But trusting him again, that's a long road. My dad just hugged me and said, whatever you decide, we support you. But he hurts you again, he's a dead man. David, to his credit, did everything right. He gave me space but made sure I knew he was there. He sent flowers, I threw them away. He wrote me letters, I read them eventually. He started therapy himself with a different therapist, to work on why I did this, to make sure it never happens again. He found a new job, lower pay, less travel. I want to be home every night, he told me. I want to prove I'm done prioritizing work over us. He sent me the proof that he'd blocked Madison. Screenshots of blocked numbers, deleted emails, closed social media accounts. I deleted everything, he said. Every photo, every message, every trace of her. She doesn't exist to me anymore. After 6 weeks of separation, I agreed to couples therapy. Dr. Mitchell was good. She didn't let David make excuses. She made him own what he'd done, explain his choices, articulate the harm he'd caused. Why did you do it? She asked him in our third session. David took a long time answering. I think I was scared. We'd been talking about kids, about the next phase of our lives, and I panicked. I'm not proud of it. It's not an excuse. But I think some part of me wanted to feel young again. Free. Like I had options before I locked myself into the next 30 years. And now? Dr. Mitchell asked. Now I know I'm an idiot. Now I know that what I have with Sarah is worth more than some fantasy of freedom. Now I know that I almost destroyed the best thing in my life because I was too stupid and selfish to appreciate it. It was raw, honest, and somehow, slowly, I started to believe he meant it. 3 months after that terrible night, I let him move back home. It wasn't a fairy tale. It was hard. So fucking hard. I didn't trust him. Every time his phone buzzed, I flinched. Every time he was late from work, I spiraled. Every time he said, "I love you," I heard "I love you" in his texts to her. But he was patient. He gave me his passwords. He let me check his phone whenever I wanted. He came home straight from work every single day. He went to therapy. We went to therapy. Slowly, painfully slowly, I started to heal. 6 months after he moved back, we had sex for the first time. It was awkward and emotional, and I cried after, but it felt like a start. A year after the affair, we took a trip to try to rebuild. Hawaii. Second honeymoon, he called it. I didn't like that term, but I went anyway. On the beach, watching the sunset, he held my hand and said, "Thank you for giving me another chance. I know I don't deserve it. But I promise I will spend the rest of my life making sure you never regret it." I wanted to believe him. I chose to believe him. That was my second mistake. 2 years passed. 2 years of rebuilding, of healing, of learning to trust again. It wasn't perfect. I still had moments of doubt, of paranoia, of remembering what he'd done. But they got less frequent. The pain dulled. Life moved forward. We'd gotten to a good place, I thought. Better than before, even. We communicated more. We were more intentional about our relationship. We had weekly date nights. We said, "I love you," and meant it. We finally started trying for a baby. It felt like the ultimate sign of trust, bringing a child into our rebuilt marriage. But then little things started again. David got a new job. Better pay, better title. I was proud of him. He'd worked hard to rebuild his career after quitting that other position. "I'll be traveling a bit more," he said when he got the offer. "Maybe once a month. 2-3-day trips. Is that okay?" Tensed up. "Where?" "Different regional offices. Chicago, Denver, Phoenix. It's normal for this role." "Okay," I'd said, swallowing my anxiety. We talked about this in therapy. We discussed how he needed to be able to do his job, and I needed to trust him. He'd promised. We'd moved on. "I'll call you every night," he said. "I'll share my location. You can check in whenever you want." He did at first. Every night at 9 p.m. like clockwork. "How was your day? I miss you. Can't wait to be home." But then the calls got shorter. Later. Sometimes he'd text instead. "Exhausted. Going to bed early. Love you." He was busy, I told myself. Travel is tiring. I was being paranoid. Letting the past poison the present. But then his phone habits changed again. Not as obvious as before, but enough that I noticed. The screen angled away when he typed. The way he'd pause before answering, "Who's that?" when a notification came through. "Just work," he'd say. Always work. He started going to the gym again too. Early mornings before his flight days. "Want to look good for you," he'd say, kissing my forehead. "Gotta stay in shape." I didn't want to be suspicious. I didn't want to be that wife. The one who couldn't let go of the past, who couldn't trust, who saw cheating in every late night and business trip. So I pushed it down. Told myself I was being crazy. That he'd changed. That he'd learned. That he loved me. But deep down, in a place I didn't want to acknowledge, I knew. I knew, and I ignored it anyway. It started getting worse around month 8 of his new job. He'd come home from trips and be different, distant, distracted. Like part of him was still wherever he'd been. "You okay?" asked. "Fine. Just tired." But it was more than tired. It was the same look he'd had before. During Madison. That look of someone whose mind is in 2 places at once. One night, I was putting away his laundry from a trip and found a receipt in his suit pocket. Another fancy restaurant. Another two-person meal. Client dinner, he explained when I asked. Big deal, we're trying to close. Maybe it was. Maybe I was paranoid. But then there was the way he'd started dressing better for trips. Nicer suits. The expensive cologne again. Different than before, but the same idea. The extra care with his hair. Want to make a good impression, he'd say. There were the weekend work emails he'd taken to his office, closing the door. Confidential stuff, he'd say when I asked. NDA things. There was the way he'd started showering immediately when he got home from trips. Airport gross, he'd say. All of it was explainable. All of it could be innocent. But all of it felt familiar. Talk to him, Rachel said when I finally confessed my worries. You can't sit in this anxiety. Just ask him directly. So I did. Are you having another affair? I asked one night, voice shaking. He looked stunned. Genuinely stunned. What? Well, Sarah, how could you even ask that? Because you're acting the same way you did before. I'm not. He stopped. Took a breath. Sat down next to me. I'm sorry. I didn't realize. I've just been stressed with the new job, trying to prove myself. And I didn't see that my behavior was triggering you. I'm not having an affair. Promise you, Sarah. I will never do that to you again. Never. He looked me in the eyes when he said it. Held my hands. I know I destroyed your trust before, and I know it's fragile now, and I'm sorry I've been thoughtless. But I swear to you, to God, to our future children, to everything I hold sacred, I am not cheating on you. I wanted to believe him. I needed to believe him. So I did. But I couldn't shake the feeling. I started doing things I wasn't proud of. Checking his phone when he was in the shower. Looking through his laptop when he ran to the store. Searching for hidden apps, secret emails, anything that would confirm or deny what my gut was screaming. Found nothing. He'd gotten better at hiding, maybe. Or I was truly, completely losing my mind. You're not crazy, Dr. Chen said in an emergency session I'd scheduled. Your anxiety is a normal response to past trauma. But you have to decide, do you trust him or don't you? Because you can't live in this limbo. I don't know, I'd admitted. I want to trust him. But I can't. Then you need to tell him that. You need to have an honest conversation about whether this marriage can survive when trust is gone. But I didn't want to lose him. Didn't want to be the bitter, paranoid wife who drove him away with her inability to forgive and forget. So I tried harder. Pushed down the doubt. Smiled when he came home from trips. Said, I love you too when he said it first. And I waited. Waited for the other shoe to drop. It was a Thursday night. David was on a trip. Phoenix this time, back Friday afternoon. I was home alone, trying to distract myself with work, with TV, with anything that would quiet the screaming in my head. Around midnight I went to bed. Couldn't sleep. Tossed and turned, mind racing. At 2 a.m. I got up to use the bathroom. That's when I heard it. His phone. The one he kept on his nightstand even when he was traveling. His work phone, he called it. Kept the personal one with him. It was vibrating. Over and over. I stood in the bathroom doorway, staring at that phone lighting up in the dark. I shouldn't look. It was his work phone. It wasn't my business. But my feet were moving before I could stop them. Picked up the phone. 7 new messages. All from a contact saved as RM Denver office. My hands were shaking as I unlocked it. He'd never changed his passcode from before. Said it was a sign of trust, of transparency. The messages were casual, normal. Miss you already, smiling face with smilings. Can't wait for next week. Counting down the days. You make business trips actually funnel. That thing you do with your tongue. I'm wet just thinking about you. When are you leaving her? You promised. The room tilted. Well, not again. Not fucking again. My fingers moved on autopilot, scrolling up through the messages. Days of them. Weeks. Month. Since 3 months after he'd started the new job. 9 months of messages. 9 months of another affair. Different woman. Same betrayal. Found photos this time. Photos he'd saved. Her face smiling up at the camera. Her body in poses that made my stomach turn. Them together in what looked like a hotel room. I found messages about their plans. Meetups in Denver. In Phoenix. In Chicago. Every business trip. Every single one. I found her saying, "I love you." I found him saying it back. I found him complaining about me. About how I was paranoid. Clingy. How I couldn't let go of the past. I found him telling her about Madison. Laughing about how he'd learned from his mistakes this time. How he was better at hiding it now. There was a message from 2 weeks ago. David. She asked me again last night if I was cheating. RM. What did you say? David. Same thing I always say. That I'd never do that to her again. That I learned my lesson. She believes it every time. She's so desperate to trust me that she'll accept any lie. RM. When are you going to leave her? David. Soon. Promise. Just need to wait until after her dad's surgery. Don't want to seem like a complete asshole. My dad's surgery. He was having a minor procedure next month. Nothing serious, but he'd mentioned being nervous. David was waiting until after that to leave me for this woman. Because he didn't want to seem like a complete asshole. I stood in my bathroom at 2 a.m., holding my husband's phone, reading proof of his second affair. And I felt something inside me die. Not break. Not crack. Die. It was like a light going out. Like the last bit of hope, of faith, of belief in love, just extinguished. I didn't cry. That was the weird part. I didn't cry or scream or throw the phone. I just felt nothing. Me. Took screenshots. Every conversation. Every photo. Every damning piece of evidence. I emailed them to myself. Then I put his phone back exactly where I'd found it. I went back to bed and stared at the ceiling until dawn. 6 a.m. I got up. Showered. Got dressed. Made coffee. Called Rachel. I need you to come over, I said. He did it again. When David got home Friday afternoon, Rachel was there with me. So was her husband Mike. A lawyer conveniently. David walked in all smiles. Hey babe. I'm home. Oh hey Rachel, Mike. Didn't know you guys were coming over. Sit down, David, I said. My voice must have given something away because his smile faltered. What's wrong? Sit down. He sat. I placed his work phone on the coffee table between us. His face went white. Who's RM? He asked. From the Denver office. Sarah. Her name is Rebecca Martinez. She's 28 years old. She's been fucking my husband for 9 months. They met at the Denver office in August. You've been with her every single business trip since then. How did you? Your phone. The one you so trustingly left at home. The one that got 7 messages from her at 2 a.m. last night. 7 very detailed messages about how much she misses you and can't wait to see you again, and when the fuck are you leaving your paranoid wife? I can explain. Explain what? I was on my feet screaming. All the nothing from last night had turned into rage. Explain how you promised me, swore to me, that you'd never do this again. Explain how you went to therapy and said all the right things and made me believe you'd changed. Explain how you laughed about me with her. How you called me desperate and said I'd believe any lie. Rachel put a hand on my arm. I shook it off. You told her about Madison. You told her you'd learned from your mistakes this time. That you're better at hiding it now. That's what you learned from the first affair. Not to be a better person, but to be a better liar. David's face was crumbling. Sarah, please. You were waiting. Waiting until after my dad's surgery to leave me for her. Because you didn't want to seem like a complete asshole. News flash, David. You are a complete asshole. I wasn't going to leave you. I told her that too. Stop lying. I threw the phone at him. It hit his chest and fell to the floor. Just stop fucking lying. He was crying now. Big ugly sobs. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I don't know what's wrong with me. I don't know why I keep doing this. Get out. Sarah. Mike, I said, turning to Rachel's husband. What do I need to do to divorce him? No. David jumped up. No, please, we can work through this. We did it before. We can do it again. I looked at him. Really looked at him. At this man I'd loved for 6 years. Married for 5. Forgiven once. There is no we anymore, I said. We died last night at 2 a.m. when I read those messages. You killed we. You killed us. You killed me. I can change. You said that before. Believed you before. I gave you a second chance, and you spent it planning how to be a better liar. No, David. You don't get a third chance. You don't get to do this to me ever again. Please. Mike. I said again. Mike stood up. I'll need you to leave the residence, Mr. Morrison. My client is filing for divorce and requesting you vacate the marital home immediately. This is my house too. Actually, Mike said calmly, it's in both your names, but given the circumstances, I'd strongly advise you to leave voluntarily before we file a restraining order for emotional abuse and get law enforcement involved. David looked at me. You'd do that? After everything we've been through? I laughed. It sounded unhinged. After everything we've been through? You mean after you cheated on me twice? After you made me doubt my own sanity? After you let me blame myself for your failures? Yeah, David. I'd do that. He grabbed a bag and left 20 minutes later. I stood at the window and watched him drive away. And then finally I cried. The divorce took 8 months. 8 months of lawyers and paperwork and dividing up our life into neat legal categories. David tried to fight it at first. Sent me letters begging for another chance. Showed up at my work. Called my parents. He says he's changed, my mom told me on the phone. He says he's in therapy. He says, Mom, I'd interrupted. He said all of that before. After Madison. And then he did it again. How many times am I supposed to believe him? She'd been quiet for a moment. Then, you're right. Sorry. I just hate seeing you in pain. I'm in pain because of him. Not because I'm leaving him. Leaving him is the only thing that's going to make the pain stop. Rebecca Martinez, I learned, worked in sales at the Denver office. 28, ambitious. Recently divorced herself. David had told her I was emotionally abusive. That our marriage was over but I was dragging it out. That he was trying to leave but I wouldn't let him. She'd believed him. When I contacted her through LinkedIn and sent her the screenshots, the ones where he said she was just for fun and he'd never actually leave his wife, she'd been shocked. We talked on the phone. It was surreal. The woman my husband had cheated on me with. And we were bonding over how he'd lied to both of us. I'm so sorry, she'd said. I had no idea. He told me you guys were separated. We weren't. I would never have. If I'd known. I know. She quit her job. Moved back to her hometown in Texas. "I can't work here knowing what I did," she'd said. "Even if I didn't know I was doing it." I stayed in the house. David moved into an apartment across town. He got the house in the divorce settlement appraised and we refinanced so I could buy out his half. It emptied my savings, but it was worth it to not have to move. To not have to start over in a new place. Kept going to therapy. Dr. Chen helped me work through the anger, the betrayal, the shame of having forgiven him once only to be betrayed again. "You weren't foolish for giving him a second chance," she said. "You were brave. You were hopeful. You believed in redemption and growth. Those aren't bad qualities, Sarah. He's the one who failed. Not you." But it was hard to believe that when I looked in the mirror and saw someone who'd been made a fool twice. The divorce was finalized on a Tuesday. I signed the papers in Mike's office. David signed them remotely. We never had to be in the same room again. When it was done, Mike shook my hand. "You're officially single. How do you feel?" Thought about that. How did I feel? "Free," I'd said. "I feel free." That was a year ago. Now I'm 35. Still in the same house. Still working at the same company. Got another promotion actually. Senior VP now. I'm dating. Casually. Nothing serious. The idea of trusting someone enough to marry them again feels impossible right now, but my therapist says that might change. That healing isn't linear. That eventually I might be ready. I'm not sure I believe her, but I'm trying. I've learned some things through all of this. I've learned that people can seem like they've changed when really, they've just gotten better at hiding. That "I'm sorry" is meaningless without sustained, genuine transformation. That you can forgive someone and still leave them. That second chances are a gift, not a right. And some people don't deserve them no matter how much they beg. I've learned that trusting your gut isn't paranoia. That if something feels wrong, it probably is. That ignoring red flags because you want to believe in someone is just another form of self-harm. I've learned that betrayal doesn't just hurt, it changes you. Makes you harder, more careful, more guarded. And maybe that's not entirely bad. Maybe some of us are too trusting to begin with. Most importantly, I've learned that forgiving someone the first time isn't foolish. Believing them the second time is. If you're reading this or watching this and you see yourself in my story, if you've been cheated on and you're trying to decide whether to stay or go, here's what I want you to know. You are not crazy for being suspicious. You are not paranoid for checking their phone. You are not clingy for needing reassurance. Your anxiety is a normal response to trauma, and anyone who makes you feel bad for having it doesn't deserve you. Second chances are for people who are truly sorry. Not just sorry they got caught. Not sorry for the consequences. Sorry for the act itself. Sorry enough to do the hard, unglamorous work of change. Watch their actions, not their words. Anyone can say they've changed. Anyone can cry and beg and promise. But do they follow through? Do they give you transparency? Do they take responsibility without making excuses? And if they do it again, if they betray you after you've already given them grace, leave. Don't give them a third chance. Don't give them a fourth. Don't spend your life playing detective while they get better at hiding. You deserve someone who doesn't make you question your sanity. Who doesn't make you feel like you're the problem. Who doesn't need to be caught before they do the right thing. I don't regret forgiving David the first time. I regret wasting 2 more years believing he'd actually changed. I regret all the signs I ignored because I was desperate to believe the lie. I regret the ways I made myself smaller, quieter, less demanding because I didn't want to be the nagging, untrusting wife. But I don't regret leaving. I don't regret getting out before he could do it a third time. Because here's the truth. Someone who truly loves you doesn't betray you in the first place. But if they do, if they make that terrible mistake, they sure as hell don't do it again. They don't use your forgiveness as a free pass to be more careful next time. They don't mock your trust behind your back. Real change is possible. Real redemption is possible. But it's rare. And it requires more than pretty words and temporary remorse. Sometimes at night, I still think about that moment at 2 a.m. when I picked up his phone. When I saw that name, Aram, and knew before I even looked that my worst fear was true. Part of me wishes I'd trusted my gut sooner. Wishes I'd investigated months earlier, instead of gaslighting myself into believing I was paranoid. But mostly I'm grateful. Grateful that I found out. Grateful that I left. Grateful that I chose myself, finally, after years of choosing him. I'm not the same person I was 6 years ago, when I met David in that coffee shop. I'm not even the same person I was 3 years ago, when I forgave him the first time. I'm harder now. More cynical. More guarded. But I'm also stronger. More self-aware. More willing to trust my own judgment over someone else's lies. And maybe that's worth more than the naive trust one used to have. So if you're out there, struggling with the same decision I faced, wondering if you should give them another chance, wondering if you're being fair, wondering if you'll regret leaving, let me tell you. You might regret leaving. You might wonder what if sometimes. But you'll regret staying more. Because the thing about betrayal is that it never stops hurting. Even if they never cheat again, you'll always wonder. You'll always be waiting for the other shoe to drop. You'll always be checking phones and questioning late nights and trying to read minds. That's not love. That's prison. And you deserve to be free. I forgave him once because I believed in second chances. I believed in redemption and growth and the power of love to heal. I don't regret that belief. But I'll never give another third chance. To him or anyone else. 'Cause fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice. That's on me. And I'm done being fooled. My name is Sarah Morrison. Well, Sarah Parker again now. Reclaimed my maiden name in the divorce. This is my story. This is my confession. I forgave him once. I was an idiot to believe in the second chance. But I'm not an idiot anymore. And neither should you be. Trust yourself. Choose yourself. Save yourself. 'Cause no one else will do it for you. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and share for more stories like this.